Nutrition technology delivers what others only promise, nutrition that really works. This month's special is Melatonin PG, the world's first live source probiotic generated melatonin for premier brain, sleep, immune, and antioxidant support. Males only need 1 or 2 drops at bedtime. Ladies have the most to gain. You can work up to 10 drops per night to get all the great female anti-aging benefits. Buy 2 bottles, get the third one free. Call 800-370-3447. That's 800-370-3447. Experience for yourself nutrition that really works.
Listen to Healthline every Monday through Friday from 2:30 to 3 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. right here on AM 1510 and AM 1450.
After 10 years and 2 very brutal bear markets, I believe now's the time to take hold of your financial future and start educating yourself. Hi, I'm Joseph Gilbert, an institutional stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California, and host of How to Invest in a New America, heard daily from 4 to 5 here on KSPA and KFSD. Unprecedented volatility has paralyzed investors. In fact, there are millions of investors just sitting on the sidelines watching as literally a parade of financial opportunities pass them by. For 27 years, I've been actively trading and advising both institutional and individual investors to my techno-fundamental approach. If you're having a tough time with the stock market and you need a new trading partner with some fresh ideas to help get you back on track, then call me at 888-668-9562 or log on at howtoinvestinanewamerica.com. The number again is 888-668-9562 or howtoinvestinanewamerica.com. Call me and let me help you get back on track. Newport Coast Securities, member FINRA, SIPC.
This program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Astor Broadcast Group, its employees, or sponsors.
The opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff, management, or advertisers of this station, and any investment advice given is for educational purposes only and may not be suitable for all investors. Joey Gilbert is a registered representative with Newport Coast Securities, Inc., a broker-dealer and a member of FINRA SIPC. This document should not be regarded as an offer to sell or as a solicitation of an offer to buy any securities. Specific recommendations can only be made upon request of the client after a full review of their suitability has been conducted by the investment representative. Risk tolerance, ability to withstand loss, diversification, and level of understanding are important factors in determining appropriate investments. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results.
And now, Newport Coast Securities is proud to present How to Invest in a New America with your host, institutional equity strategist, Joe Gilbert.
All right, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of How to Invest in a New America. What a crazy market. I think most people are expecting a big correction at any time in this market. And that only seems logical in my mind. I've had so many people calling me in the last couple of days saying the top is in, and with much conviction, I might add. Well, the market had a message in its action today, and it seems that it's resisting everyone's wishes and desires. It tried to come down really hard in the last day or so, and sure enough, this morning it caught a bid, and a lot of stocks had closed up a major amount off their low. So I ask you, is it really too late to buy this market? All right, today I want to discuss many things that all my listeners can do to get better and better at investing. All right, I'm really glad you could join me today. I've got another great show lined up. Got a lot of good comments on my checklist show, which, by the way, my website's almost done, and you'll be able to go back and access all my shows at your own convenience. But yesterday we talked about a checklist to use against your stock selections. You know, today I want to discuss something called Dopic. Now, don't make fun of me, okay? It's Dopic, D-O-F-P-I-C. It's disciplined, organized, focused, patient, independent, and confident. All right, Dopic. This is important. Disciplined, organized, focused, patient, independent, and confident. Is that what kind of investor you are? I'm asking all my listeners. Is that the kind of investor you are? Because I think the best investor is educated and informed, and yes, Dopic, okay? Thanks for joining and learning along with me. Listeners, I've been trading for and advising both institutional investors as well as high net worth individuals for 27 years. At my previous firm, my title was Senior Portfolio Manager and Chief Market Strategist for 12 years. So I have some very valuable experience to share with all my listeners about how you can get better and better at the battle we all know as the stock market. All right, now it's a call-in talk show, but I like to think of it as talk radio education, not like anything else you hear on the radio. This is real talk about the reality of the market. All right, there's no other show like mine. I'm a professional stockbroker. I've used one system my entire career, and that's the CANSLIM method developed by William O'Neill. Now, if you have a question, you can call the show live. Anything you want to talk about with respect to the method, the general market, or a specific stock. No cheap stocks, though. The number to call is 866-584-3434. Don't be shy. If you have a question, there is no dumb question, right? If you have a question on anything you're reading in the book, How to Make Money in Stocks, or things you're finding in Investors Daily, call me. Let's talk about it. 866-584-3434. You know, right now is the time to take hold of your financial future, friends, and start getting educated, because the new America is flexing its muscles. Now, if you're just tuning in, this is How to Invest in a New America. I'm glad you could join me. I've got a great show lined up for today. Now, first off, I want to tell you, this is truly a humbling experience to be with you every day for an hour to talk about the stock market. I am truly humbled by your presence, ladies and gentlemen, and I feel honored to be here. It's a pleasure to get to talk with you every day about how you can get better at this battle for investment survival. Now, I've given you a lot of little details as part of the entire investment process, real-time education into the things that I look at and what the best professionals are looking at. Now, myself, I'm a master at sniffing out institutional footprints. And I want all my listeners to have a continuous improvement when it comes to expanding your knowledge about the market. That's the goal here, friends. And I appreciate you tuning in every day to learn more and more about the market. All right, you're not getting my opinions, just straight talk about high-performance techniques and strategies and different tools that you can use to get much better results. All right, now today I want to talk about some of the tools like MarketSmith. MarketSmith is a software program. It's an amazing, amazing tool. And I want to tell all my listeners that if you go online at marketsmith.com, let me give you an 800 number. You can call them at 800-452-4422. Tell them you heard about it on the radio. I'm sure they'll give you a free trial, but it's charting software. And, we talked about the checklist yesterday. There's so many proprietary measurements in Investors Business Daily and on MarketSmith that you can't get anywhere else. And they're critical measurements. You can't make decisions without it. So I want to talk about MarketSmith today, and I want you to know you can call in over there at 800-452-4422. Tell them you heard Joey on the radio talking about MarketSmith, and maybe you can get yourself a free trial. All right, so hopefully you're learning something new that you're not going to hear anyone else talking about. All right, I'm Joe Gilbert. I'm an institutional stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California. Now, if you have a pen and paper handy today, I think it'd be helpful. I am going to go over this checklist again. Now, there's a lot of little details, but if you get MarketSmith and you're plugged into Investors Business Daily, I think those are the tools that you need if you're going to be successful at speculating in the stock market. Now, if it weren't so important and I didn't think it would empower you, then I wouldn't keep talking about it. But this show's not where you listen to find out about what already happened today, all right? I'm not a news person. I'm a professional investor and stockbroker. And I want to go over a professional checklist that all my listeners absolutely must learn about and acquire the discipline to implement before you go buying a stock based on somebody else's opinion. All right, now I want to just go into this a little bit. If you're a high net worth individual and you think you're dealing with a really elite broker, I'd love to talk to you about how my services can match up. All right, my office number is 888-668-9562. Now, let's think about this. On any stock that you're considering to buy, all right, I have a fundamental checklist of items that's a very strong routine that'll help you to learn how to properly analyze a stock before you go buying it. All right, you got to know how to analyze them properly. So here's about 20 different items that you should scrutinize, and you're comparing them. Which one has the strongest EPS, the strongest relative strength? What has the strongest price action? Remember, you're looking for the very strongest stocks, the ones that move up the most and sell off the least. Those are your real leaders. All right, so I want to go over this professional checklist that all my listeners must absolutely learn to use and acquire the discipline to implement it. All right, now, on any stock you're considering to buy, you want to use MarketSmith and Investors Daily to find these proprietary measurements. Again, if you want to get a trial to MarketSmith, the number is 800-452-4422. Now, again, I'm not part of MarketSmith, and I'm not getting paid to say that. These are critical tools that if you're serious about making money in the market, if you're just dabbling and you're looking for a 5 or 10% return and being all conservative, I submit this to you. If you know absolutely your risk is 7 or 8%, no matter what you're buying, why not buy the very best stocks you can find, the real leaders? That way you get a crack at real price appreciation. Now, MarketSmith is my tool of choice. I'm going to discuss a lot of things today that you can't find anywhere else, and it's all contained in one neat little package. All right, it's marketsmith.com. The 800 number for a free trial is 452-4422. Now, you mentioned you heard it on the radio. I know they'll give you a free trial, but this is professional software that can help you zero in on the big leaders. All right, now, the first things I'm going to talk about, they're smart select items. You can only find them in Investors Business Daily. It's proprietary information or a MarketSmith. All right, but I highly recommend anyone who's serious about making money, go to marketsmith.com, call that 800 number I gave you. One more time, it's 800-452-4422. Get plugged in there. Everything you need to know about properly evaluating a stock is on MarketSmith, or you can find these items in Investors Business Daily. Everybody tracking with me on this? It's institutional, professional data. Straight up, it's the best source of data, in my personal opinion. And I can't operate without it. So the first thing you want to look at is earnings per share rank, EPS rank. Now, what Investors Daily does is they take the last 2 quarters, percentage gains in earnings, and combine that with a 3 to 5 year growth rate, and then they give it a ranking from 1 to 99 when it's compared to all other companies in their database. And their database is huge, 7,000 or 8,000 different stocks that you have access to all this fundamental information in on MarketSmith. EPS rank would be one of the first things you want to look at, and you want it to be 80 or higher. Now remember, this is a checklist, so is the EPS rank 80 or higher? You check yes or no. Now I'm going to go down the line and give you 20 different things, and you just mark a check yes or no, and you see if your stock stacks up to at least, you want at least 10, 15, 20 different positive elements in the stock you're considering to buy. All right. The second thing would be relative strength rank. Now, the way they do that is they compare the price performance, all right, of your stock 4 quarters ago, 3 quarters ago, 2 quarters ago, and then last quarter they put a 40% emphasis. So it's 20% 4 quarters ago, 20% 3 quarters, 20% 2 quarters ago, and in the most recent quarter, they give it a 40% weighting. That's based on price performance. And then they combine that and measure it against every other company in the market, and they give it a ranking from 1 to 99. That's relative strength. Now, 99 is the highest, and what it means is if your stock has a 99 relative strength, is that your stock is outperforming 99% of all other companies according to price performance in the overall market. All right, now, my cutoff on relative strength is a minimum of 75. The very best companies are going to be in the 90s. But as a minimum cutoff, you want to see, does your relative strength rank equal 75? The next item on the list would be the SMR rating, which is a measurement of the sales, profit margins, and return on equity. So it's a very important measurement of profitability, and they rank it from A to a C, to a E. And what I'm looking for is an A or a B. All right, I want the very best companies that are number one in their particular field. So you want an A or a B on the SMR rating. The next thing I'd look at is the accumulation distribution rating. Now, again, you can only get this data in Investors Business Daily or on MarketSmith.com. Now, MarketSmith, everything you need is right there to make a decision. You don't need an analyst report. It's all right there for you. Again, MarketSmith.com is the website. It's the sister company to Investors Daily. It's a chart software tool that is absolutely institutional quality. If you want to get a free trial on that, it's 800-452-4422. And I keep mentioning this because this is how you check through and find out if you've got a stock that might be a huge leader, okay? And you want to measure all these little measurements and compare all your stocks. Which ones have the best ratings? All right, now then you look at what are the earnings per share increase last quarter versus a year ago. Now, I want the last quarter to be up a minimum of 25%. That's a minimum. All right, the very best stocks have 50, 100, 200, or 300% gains in their most recent quarter. Now, yesterday I talked about a stock called Ambarella. And Ambarella is symbol AMBA. And its last quarter earnings were, I believe they were up 80%. All right, but you want to look at the last quarter and make sure it's at least up 25%. Check that yes or no. The next item is earnings per share year over year. So you look at a 3 to 5 year growth rate, and it must be, again, 25% or higher. Now, and you really want the ones with the biggest numbers. All right, but 25% is a minimum cutoff. All right, you want to look, the next item down the line is estimates for the current quarter. You want those to be up at least 25% as well. Now, I'm going over a fundamental checklist. Now, if you have a pen and paper and you're writing this down, you can look at the stocks you own and see how many items on this checklist stack up. Now, if you go through and you have a stock that has an EPS rank of 40, well, that's no good. You probably want to get rid of something like that. You're looking for companies that have an EPS rating and a relative strength rating of 80 or better. That way you're dealing with the very best merchandise. Now, here's another item on the list. Have the earnings accelerated for the last 3 quarters? Yes or no? So in the past 3 quarters, were the current percentage increases accelerating? And that can be 5, 15, 25. But as long as it's accelerating, that's a yes or a no. All right. Now, these are all highly positive elements that you need to have in the stocks you're selecting. If they don't have a majority of the things on this checklist, you should probably avoid them. All right, now I'm going to go through a lot more. We're going to take a quick break. You'll be right back with how to invest in a new America. More learning. Don't touch the dial. We'll be right back. Investors, do you know what a successful stock looks like before it takes off in price? Studying models of past big winners can give you a much clearer picture of what you're looking for in future potential big winners. Hi, I'm Joe Gilbert, a stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California. How are you going to know if a stock you're considering to buy right now could be a future big winner if you don't know what these great winners of the past look like? Make sense? Call me at 888-668-9562 for a free copy of my model book I call Profiles of a New America. If you're unhappy with your broker and you want to work with a new broker who has 27 years of battlefield experience, as well as some fresh ideas to help get you back on track, then call me at 888-668-9562 or log on at howtoinvestinanewamerica.com. If what you're doing isn't working, then try my fresh ideas and a great new system. And don't forget to tune in every day for How to Invest in a New America from 4 to 5, right here on 1510 AM, Financial News and Talk. Newport Coast Securities, member FINRA, SIPC.
This is Financial News and Talk.
Markets, business, and the latest information. On Bloomberg, there's absolutely no alternative.
AM 1450, AM 1510.
investors. Do you know what a successful stock looks like before it has a dramatic rise in price? Knowing what to look for can definitely give you an edge. Hi, I'm Joe Gilbert, an independent institutional stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities and host of How to Invest in a New America. For more than a quarter of a century, I've focused on a strict discipline of looking through thousands of stock charts every weekend, looking for timely ideas for my clients. If you believe in the importance of a disciplined approach that combines fresh new idea generation, managed with passion and focus, then call me at 888-668-9562 and experience the difference for yourself. Again, if you're looking for a new broker who can help you navigate the ups and downs of the market and you want experience, discipline, passion, and focus, then I'm your man. Call me at 888-668-9562 and find out what my 27 years of battlefield experience can do for you. My direct helpline is 888-668-9562. I'm Joe Gilbert, a licensed representative with Newport Coast Securities, encouraging you to get educated and go for it. Securities offered through Newport Coast Securities, member FINRA, SIPC. Okay, I'm back. This is Joe Gilbert. I'm a stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California, and the show's called How to Invest in a New America. Now, I've been going over a checklist that you can use to see how your stocks stack up. But this is a stock checklist that you want to run on all the things you're considering to buy. Run them up against this list and see how they stack up. Now, I went through several things, but before I go on with the list, you know, I talked about this last week. Every Wednesday in Investors Daily, there's an article called How to Find and Own America's Greatest Opportunities. And the article is by William O'Neill. It's in every Wednesday's paper. Talked about it last week, and you know, we did a repeat of the checklist yesterday because I really believe this checklist is critical if you're trying to be serious about finding the very best stocks. But did want to mention yesterday's article. It was on Taser. All right, I don't know if my listeners are familiar with Taser. I'm sure you all know what a Taser gun is. But back in 1999, Taser had what's called a high tight flag pattern show up. Now, you know, I talk about these chart patterns forming over and over again, and they really do. There's many a precedent, and you can use these past examples. Now, in Wednesday's paper, there's an article that talks about Taser and how it formed out a high tight flag. Now, a high tight flag is a chart pattern that's very rare. It doesn't occur more than a few times during a bull market. But it begins with the stock moving up about 100 or 120% in a real short period of time, say 4 to 8 weeks. And then it corrects sideways no more than 10 to 20% in usually 3, 4, or 5 weeks. Now, listeners, this is straight out of William O'Neill's book, How to Make Money in Stocks. A high tight flag is one of the strongest patterns you can find. It's a very risky pattern, and it's difficult to interpret, but many stocks skyrocket 200% or more off this formation. And in the book, there's several models of what a high tight flag looks like. Now, in yesterday's paper, they went through Taser, which was a high tight flag, and it ran up over 100%. It went from, well, man, this stock was a monster. It actually broke out of a high tight flag around $25 a share and ran up 1,300% in 30 weeks. So I want all my listeners, if you're interested, if you're a student and you're trying to study, this is a great example of what a high tight flag looks like. Another one in the book is Qualcomm in 1999. But in the example in Wednesday's paper, Taser went from a $4.50 split adjusted basis to over $64 a share. Now, the reason I mention that article is because I believe right now, Tesla Motors is forming out one of those high tight flags. Any of my listeners familiar with Tesla? We all know they have a really new product. It's an electric car that's selling very well. They actually had their first quarter of profitability in the most recent quarter. And they did a secondary offering just recently where they raised a bunch of money and they paid off all the debt to the government that they had borrowed during the financial crisis. And what's interesting is in the secondary offering, Elon Musk, the owner of the company, actually bought himself $100 million worth of the offering. Now, Tesla's moved up a lot. I mean, it's gone from about 40 or 50 into the 90 range. But look at a chart. It's barely coming off right now. And, I'm mentioning this because I bought a lot of Tesla Motors today. I bought over 100,000 shares of it. And each time I bought it at higher prices. So Tesla Motors is something for my listeners to go and look at. Compare it to Taser, which is in yesterday's paper, under the How to Find and Own America's Greatest Opportunities article, William O'Neill. It goes through what Taser did in the earnings, and you can see a chart on it. But go take a look at Taser and see how that stacks up. Now, just because I tell you I'm buying a stock, listeners, that doesn't mean for you to go buy it. Tesla, if you look at it, if you look at a chart, it'll make your nose bleed. And that's typically what these high tight flags, they run up 100% and then they barely come off any. And that scares the heck out of you. But when you look at it, it's under accumulation and it looks to me like it's forming one of those high tight flags. Again, the symbol on that is Thomas, Sally, Larry, Apple, TSLA. But take a look at that. It's something I think is very strong and has a high tight flag pattern. Now, if you want to read about high tight flags, in William O'Neill's book on page 131, there's a description of exactly what it is and the different models that you can study. Remember, these historical models can be used for precedent on your future selections. And that's one of the items on my checklist is what does the chart pattern look like? Okay, so let's get back to the list. You want to make sure that the estimate for the current year is up 25%. Now remember, this is a fundamental checklist, and you want as many of these elements that I'm giving you to be present in the stocks that you're looking to buy, okay? So the estimate must be up at least 25%, yes or no. Now take the last 3 quarters of earnings growth on a percentage basis, take the last 3 and average them, and do they equal 25% or more? Yes or no? Now, I mentioned the Ambarella. This is AMBA. This is a brand new name. It's just broke out of a perfect base on top of a base pattern. They got a new product. They have 3 years lead on, and I quote, any, unquote, 3-year lead on any competition. So go check out their products. Look at the chart. See if it stacks up. Now, Ambarella's average growth in the last 3 quarters is over 50%. I believe it's 62 to be exact. But the last 3 quarters must average 25% or more, yes or no. How much were the earnings up in the current quarter, last quarter, versus the estimate? That's an important element that you need to know about. All right, now Michael Kors, I've been talking about that for a few weeks. It's a stock that I own. In the most recent quarter, they beat the estimate by 60%. So huge acceleration going on. Their earnings were up 129%, but the street was looking for 40 cents. Michael Kors came in at 64. That's a 60% increase above the estimate. So you want to ask yourself, in the company you're looking to select, how much were the earnings up in the last quarter versus the estimate? All right, and it should be big. You want companies that are having huge earnings growth above expectations. That's earnings acceleration. Now, another item on the list would be the sales for the past 2 quarters. You want big sales. All right, so they have some new product that's driving the sales and making the earnings accelerate faster than a normal rate. But in the last 2 quarters on this list, you want to make sure that your sales are up at least 25%. All right, yes or no? So you look at your stock, was the last 2 quarters in sales up 25% or more? Are the sales accelerating in the past 3 quarters? And that's another yes or no. Now, yesterday I went over the Ambarella sales, and you could see that for 4 quarters in the most recent 6-quarter period, they had acceleration going on. That's very positive. So you want to ask yourself, is the company you're selecting right now having its sales accelerate in the most recent 3 quarters? That'd be yes or no. Now, you want the stock that you're going to select to be in the top 50 industry groups out of the 197 groups that Investors Daily tracks. All right, it has to be in the top 50. So you want to be dealing with the top 25% of all industries, and you want the best stock in the industry group. All right, you want to make sure that the price is over $15 a share. If it's less than that, that's no good. We don't want to speculate in the junk pile. What we're looking for is the very best companies with the biggest growth that have new products and a perfect chart and all these characteristics I'm talking about. And when you put all that together, all of a sudden your odds for success increase a great amount. All right, another item on the list is return on equity. Now you want that number to be at least 17% or higher. All right, I think I mentioned to you yesterday, Ambarella has a 39% return on equity. Michael Kors has a 58 or 57% return on equity. Now that just tells you the company is very well managed. And return on equity is a really important measurement of profitability that you don't want to ignore. Now the stock you're looking at, you want to put a yes or no. Is the return on equity 17% or more? And you want to see pre-tax margins and after-tax margins that are increasing year over year. And I'd say at least 20% on the pre-tax margin. That's another item. So I'm giving you all critical facts, no opinions. This is just facts. And you want to know, how does your stock stack up with all the facts? All right? Pre-tax margin up 20% or more. Up-down volume. Now, you can only get this measurement in Investors Daily and on MarketSmith, but it's a measurement of whether or not the stock's under institutional accumulation. And the up-down volume you're looking for must be 1.0 or more. All right, so the other thing you want to make sure of is liquidity. Does the stock trade at a minimum 500,000 shares a day? Really, you want the ones that are trading several million. Now, you look at Tesla Motors, it trades almost 6 million shares a day. But today, on a down day, and stock got down to almost $80 a share, closed up 5.5 points on over 11 million shares. Huge volume coming into the stock, up 5.5 on the day. That's Tesla Motors. Now you want to make sure the stock that you're looking at is still within a basing formation, and it's not extended by 5% or more. So a base is an area. After a prior run-up in price, a stock will make a peak and start to correct off the high and consolidate the gains of the prior uptrend. That's where a base is formed. And you need to make sure that the stock you're considering has at least 4 to 5 or 6 weeks of a basing pattern. If it doesn't, then you really want to leave it alone. All right, so there's like 20 different items that I've just given you that are critical measurements, listeners. This way you don't need anyone's opinion or story about the stock. Now, all these items, you can get it in one place on a software tool called MarketSmith. Now, if you call MarketSmith and tell them you heard it on the radio, I'm sure they'll give you a free trial. The number is 800-452-4422. Again, if you want to get plugged into professional, detailed information that can help you to make better decisions on the battlefield, call the guys at MarketSmith, 800-452-4422. Now, all of these things are critical elements that all the best professionals are looking at, listeners. After you go through this checklist, and let's say you do come up with 13 or 14 out of 20 items that are all highly positive and accelerating, after that, you want to go to investors.com and run a search on their site and find out what the story is. And ask yourself this question: what do they got that's faster, cheaper, and far better? Do they have a superior industry position within their industry? What's the competition? Like Ambarella, I was telling you about that. I read you the story on it yesterday. They make high-definition chips that go into cameras for high-def video. All right, and they have a 3-year lead on any competition. All right, so maybe go to their website tonight and take a look at AMBA. See if there's any stories on it. Go look at a chart. The stock's in a buying area, in my opinion, right now. But don't just go buy it on Joe's opinion. You got to do your own homework. Put the Ambarella through the checklist. and see how it stacks up. All right, now let's take another quick break. You're listening to Joe Gilbert. I'm a stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California. If you need help with your investments, I'm available. You can call my office at 888-668-9562. Don't touch the dial. We'll be right back with more of how to invest in a new America. Investors, do you know what a successful stock looks like before it has a dramatic rise in price? Knowing what to look for can definitely give you an edge. Hi, I'm Joe Gilbert, an independent institutional stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities and host of How to Invest in a New America. For more than a quarter of a century, I've focused on a strict discipline of looking through thousands of stock charts every weekend, looking for timely ideas for my clients. If you believe in the importance of a disciplined approach that combines fresh new idea generation, managed with passion and focus, then call me at 888-668-9562 and experience the difference for yourself. Again, if you're looking for a new broker who can help you navigate the ups and downs of the market and you want experience, discipline, passion, and focus, then I'm your man. Call me at 888-668-9562 and find out what my 27 years of battlefield experience can do for you. My direct helpline is 888-668-9562. I'm Joe Gilbert, a licensed representative with Newport Coast Securities, encouraging you to get educated and go for it. Securities offered through Newport Coast Securities, member FINRA, SIPC.
This is financial news and talk.
Markets, business, and the latest information. On Bloomberg, there's absolutely no alternative.
AM 1450, AM 1510.
Investors, do you know what a successful stock looks like before it takes off in price? Studying models of past big winners can give you a much clearer picture of what you're looking for in future potential big winners. Hi, I'm Joe Gilbert, a stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California. How are you going to know if a stock you're considering to buy right now could be a future big winner if you don't know what these great winners of the past look like? Make sense? Call me at 888-668-9562 for a free copy of my model book I call Profiles of a New America. If you're unhappy with your broker and you want to work with a new broker who has 27 years of battlefield experience, as well as some fresh ideas to help get you back on track, then call me at 888-668-9562 or log on at howtoinvestinanewamerica.com. If what you're doing isn't working, then try my fresh ideas and a great new system. And don't forget to tune in every day for How to Invest in a New America from 4 to 5, right here on 1510 AM, Financial News and Talk. Newport Coast Securities, member FINRA, SIPC. Let's get How to Invest in a New America. Now, I know I went over a lot of meaty details. I'm going to quickly go over these again if you have a pen and paper handy. This is important information, listeners, or I wouldn't be so repetitive with it, but I'm trying to help you and empower you so that you can find your way into some of the very best stocks in the market. Now, I've given out 7 or 8 names over the last few weeks, and if you're listening on a regular basis, you know that I'm good at stock picking. So write these things down. These are checklists that you want to measure your stock with. Like when you go home tonight, you know, call MarketSmith, get plugged into their software. I'm sure they'll give you a free trial. Again, I'll mention the number. It's 800-452-4422. But you want to look at the EPS rank. Number 1, EPS rank, the last 2 quarters and the 5-year growth rate, and you want that EPS to be 80 or higher. You want the relative strength to be at least 75 or better. You want an SMR rating of A or B. You want the accumulation distribution rating. Is it an A? Yes or no? And the earnings for the last quarter versus the same quarter a year ago. Are they up at least 25%? Yes or no? The earnings percentage change year over year for the last 3 to 5 years. Is it up 25% or higher? Yes or no? Estimates in the current quarter. Are they up 25%? Have the earnings accelerated in the last 3 quarters? And is the estimate for the current year up at least 25%? So you want the current quarter earnings up 25%, and you want to make sure that the estimates for the year are up 25%. Now, these are minimum parameters, listeners, and I know I'm going through this quickly, but I went over it for a couple of days. I'm just trying to ingrain in your mind, these are the things that you need to look for, and forget the PE ratio, okay? You want to take the last 3 quarters of earnings and average them, and make sure that they're up at least 25%. And you want to know how much the earnings were up in the most current quarter versus the estimate. And you want the sales in the last 2 quarters to be up 25%. Yes or no? And are the sales accelerating the last 3 quarters? Does the stock belong to a top industry group, at least in the top 50 out of the 200 that IBD tracks? You want to make sure the price of the stock is $15 a share more, and the return on equity is above 17%. All right? Also, the up-down volume must be 1.0 or more, and the stock must trade at least 500,000 shares a day. And I think is you want to... Hey, we've got a caller on the line. Welcome to the show. You're on with Joey.
Joe, it's Jim.
Jim Ropel. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, sir. How about you?
All right. I'm so glad you called. So how's it going, buddy?
Better than last time I talked to you.
Yeah, what are you thinking of this market? You know, I've been talking about a checklist that investors need to go through before they, I don't know if you've been hearing what I've been talking about, but I'm giving them like 25 different items of things that they can use to select a stock with and measure up their stocks to see how they measure up on the checklist. I know you probably have a checklist you go through. How many items is on it?
Every variable that said tons. How many? I mean, you know.
At least 20, would you say? No?
Yeah, I mean, some are more important than others, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a real true leader, it's going to have 20 or 30 things that are going to be perfect. 20 or 30 things. Did you hear that, listeners? Not 1 or 2 things. Jim, do you care about the PE ratio? Not really. I mean, it's a measure of risk, but it's got nothing to do with possibilities. I mean, honestly, if the PE isn't expanded or high, it's unspectacular. So you like it when you see a high PE ratio? I do know that the risk is elevated, but yes, I do. Yes, I'd rather buy a high PE stock than low. Amen to that. I just want my listeners to know, because most people just look at PE ratios. And I know if you don't pay 20 to 50 times earnings, you automatically eliminate all the biggest winners in the market. Now, last time I talked to you, you were not negative, but you were a little bit shy, thinking that, you know, if the Fed wasn't pressing on the gas, that maybe the market would correct. But I know that you don't like to tell the market what it's going to do, and you follow what it's doing. What do you think most recently? How's the market action, in your opinion? I mean, it wasn't, but I think about 8 days ago, 8 trading days ago, the market really broadened out from dividend-generating stocks and yield-based stocks into growth, where prior to our 8 days ago, earnings growth was irrelevant. The market could care less. And that's how you ended up getting things like Microsoft to move up when it's a dead company. But it had a higher yield than, short-term treasuries, so people bought it. Now, earnings growth matters, and the market has really turned. I mean, most people who use this system in a very brief period were up 5, 6, 7%. Right, right. So things have gotten a lot better in the last 8 days, contrary to what everybody else is saying. Like I said in the beginning of the show, everyone's looking for a correction. I believe that's true. Even me. We're all looking for it, and usually the market doesn't move to make the majority happy. And certainly today, when we were down big after yesterday, everything came back, and I think it was a clear message that it's not too late to isolate new investment ideas. What do you think? I think if we have started a new super cycle up or a secular bull market, it's so early in it that it's not. You can't conclusively tell. I don't think you'll know conclusively until August or a little later, and that the market hasn't pulled back into its longer-term trading range, and some of these leaders have persevered more. But last time we spoke on the phone, I said, when was the last time you can remember a stock breaking out and going up 20% in the last year? And since then, I would suggest dozens of them have. Right, I mean, the market has really changed.
Right. And I'm guessing you've changed with it, no?
When I was on the phone with you, I was probably like, I don't know, 20% long, and I went all to cash after that phone call within a few days, and now I'm about, I'm fully invested right now.
I see. So you're not afraid of the market right here, and in your mind, it's not too late, and you're still finding ideas that, and I know how you look at them, you don't just buy mediocre stocks. I know you're looking for the very best ones. You talked about stock envy, right? Remember that?
Say that again?
You said that on your last show. You know, if the market's really strong, I'm going to have what's called stock envy.
And you're going to miss a few. And, I mean, if you don't have Tesla, you've got stock envy.
Right.
There's a few out there.
Tesla's unbelievable. Now, do you think that stock, I talked about this on the show today, it looks like it's carving out a high tide flag. What do you think?
I'm not sure if it is. I've had a lot of problems with high tide flags historically. Like, they're so rare, and interpreting them is a little tricky. I just think that it's a stock that really, really, really needs to be watched because, if this stock is going to be a monster, and we have entered a secular bull market, and it's so early in the bull phase that you're not even sure if it is yet, where might that stock be in 24 months if it is the leader in the very beginning of a secular bull?
Certainly you'd be hard-pressed to find something that's moved up more and sold off the least. And I was talking about when you're judging this stock against that for power and strength, the one that moves up the most and comes off the least, that's the one where you want to be focused on as the real leader. Do you think Tesla fits into that model?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, I look back to when I first got in the business, and there was a company called McAfee Associates, and McAfee, it went up like, 1,800% over 20 months or something. Mm-hmm. And all I can think about is all these people have been conditioned to sell up 10, 15, 20%.
Sure.
God forbid they get a 20% gain. And they're going to sell up the next McAfee, which might be Tesla, which is going to go up 2,000% over the next couple of years. And they're going to sell it up 5, 6, 7, 10%. And, I mean, it's when the market has conditioned people to do something is when it's going to change. And just like you said, the market will not accommodate. It will not accommodate the masses. And people these days have been crushed by stock picking. And now all of a sudden stocks are starting to act really well, or there's enough of them where you can be a little more optimistic, and the possibilities of really starting the super cycle have changed from maybe 10, 20% 2-3 weeks ago to, I don't know, you got to be north of 50. I would guess, based on the action, north of 50% probability that it started. So I think, the possibilities for stocks here, especially high growth stocks, is huge.
Right.
I mean, I think I would, and I've been tempered. I mean, normally, if you would have come to me and say, Jim, you're going to be in the very early throes of a super cycle up, and it's so early you're not even positive it's started yet. How happy would you be? And I'd say, well, I'd be giddy, and I'm not. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic when, in reality, I think I probably should be a little more optimistic.
Well, that's kind of how they start, right? Nobody sees it, nobody believes it. Then these stocks run up, and most ordinary people say it's too late, I missed it. And they won't have the courage and the discipline to step up and buy the name. Now, these big leaders like you're talking about with Tesla, I mean, the examples, like yesterday in the paper, every Wednesday they have this article, How to Own and Find and Own America's Big Opportunities. And William O'Neill pens the article, and it showed Taser in 1999 went up 1,300% in 30 weeks. And to me, this is the models that you're looking for, the ones that could really have the horsepower. Tesla seems to be one of those. They've had just their first quarter of profitability. And, again, it's moved up a giant amount, and it's not coming off, which is what's dragging my attention to it. But, Jim, I want to ask you a question. Let me
add one thing.
Go ahead.
Tesla is wildly superior to Taser purely because of the liquidity. It traded 12 million shares today. It normally trades 7 million. It's, 90?
Right.
Taser was a really thin stock. I remember buying it buying 1,000 or a couple thousand shares would bump it up a little bit. you can go in and really buy Tesla. Somebody like who was running a hedge fund or a mutual fund really couldn't buy Taser. It was beyond. It didn't have the liquidity.
Right, and that's on the checklist. Like I said, at least 500,000 shares. Now, imagine your checklist has to be more than a few million shares, or you're not interested. No.
I mean, I'm looking for average daily dollar volume of, a bare minimum of 100, 200. I mean, even 100 million is too small. I need at least $200 million worth of daily volume in the stock to get in.
Now, listeners, that's a checklist from a professional investor, all right? Jim's a professional. He runs a very large hedge fund, and he needs to see liquidity, like you just said, $100 million per day of trading. That would be on his checklist.
At a minimum.
At a minimum. That's so interesting. Now, Jim, I've been telling all the listeners the only place to get all the data, all these proprietary measurements, is in Investors Daily or MarketSmith. And I've given out a free number. I want to do that again. But would you recommend the listeners try out MarketSmith?
If you're going to use this methodology, there's no other product to use.
There's no other product to use if you're trying to use the CANSLIM method. Now, you can call 800-452-4422. Tell them you heard it on the radio. They'll give you a free trial. All right? You're getting a recommendation from a guy who has written a whole chapter in a book called How Legendary Traders Made Millions. I mean, Jim's story's no secret. He's had huge success using the CANSLIM system. It's true, right? I'm not making this up. You've had a lot of success, and I know you're not the average person, Jim. But the point is that the listeners can learn this method. It takes a while, but these are the tools they need to do it, and that's what I'm trying to teach them.
Anybody can do it. I mean, anybody who is willing to put the time in can do it. Everyone has the capacity to do it. The thing is, most people will not. I'll tell you a really quick story. There was this guy. We saw Bill. I'm sitting in the front row. Bill kind of addressed me a little bit, and this guy goes, "Are you a broker?" And I said, "Yeah." He's right behind me. He goes, he ended up having an account at the brokerage firm I was working at. He's like, "I love this system. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I want to move my whole account to you." So he moves his account to me. The first 3 or 4 stocks we buy, we get stopped out. He's like, "This system sucks. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Only an idiot would use this."
Right.
And basically,
I've had that happen myself a few times.
4 trades. It was, you got to have the patience and you got to be willing to put the work in, and most people aren't.
Sound familiar, listeners? This is exactly what I tell you every single day. I'm trying to coach you on high-performance techniques and strategies you can use to invest like the pros do. Now, Jim, I really appreciate your call. We're running up against the end of the hour, but thanks for calling and sharing your experience with our listeners.
No problem, sir. Good luck to you, and I'll talk to you again.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. All right. That was Jim Ropel from Roppel Capital Management in Chicago. He is a friend of mine and a client, and he's got a lot of experience. You can go get the book, How Legendary Traders Made Millions. There's a whole chapter in the book about Jim. There's also a few pages in the new How to Make Money in Stocks Success Stories. Now, you can get that book, and there's some reading you can do on Jim as well. But thanks for calling, Jim. We really appreciate it. All right, I'm coming up against the end of the hour. If you like what you hear and you want to see what my 27 years of experience can do for you and your portfolio, you can call me. I've been at this game a long time, listeners, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you and coach you. And if you don't have the time, I can certainly manage your account in a full-service capacity. All right, if you're a high-net-worth individual and you want institutional quality service, you can call me and let me explain how I work for your benefit. I'll tell you what stocks to buy and when to buy them, when to get in and out of the general market, and I do all my own research, all right? I'll guide you the whole way. Now, if that's what you need and your broker's not providing it, or maybe he is, but he's not showing you the really exciting, dynamic new companies that are coming out. Now, I mentioned Ambarella and Tesla today. Tesla, I bought a ton of stock in that today. I think it looks good. Go check it out. Do the homework. See if it meets on the checklist or not. But if you're looking for a new broker, my number is 888-668-9562. Again, 888-668-9562. 9562. I want to mention again, if you call the folks at MarketSmith, they'll give you a free trial. Ladies and gentlemen, if you try out this software, I can promise you, you're not going to find anything equal to it. And if your broker isn't using it, then you probably need to get rid of them. But if you want to call MarketSmith, that number is 800-452-4422. Boy, time sure goes fast when you're having fun. But I know what I'm telling you, you're not going to be hearing other people say on the radio. It's because my experience is not the same as theirs. And hopefully what you're hearing is totally new and different, more educational and not opinion-based. I'm trying to teach you how to fish, okay? Now, I don't want to just give you the fish. If you want to call me, you can open an account. My number is 888-668-9562. Also mention I have free seminars every Saturday morning where I'm going over this system in detail for a few hours. You can log on to my website at howtoinvestinanewamerica.com and sign up for that. All right, that's all I have today. Thanks for tuning in, listeners, and I hope you're learning along with me. The best investors, an educated and informed investor. So listen in every day and learn along with the rest of us. See you tomorrow right here for another Education Fest I call How to Invest in a New America, right here on the radio. After 10 years and 2 very brutal bear markets, I believe now's the time to take hold of your financial future and start educating yourself. Hi, I'm Joseph Gilbert, an institutional stockbroker with Newport Coast Securities in Irvine, California, and host of How to Invest in a New America, heard daily from 4 to 5 here on KSPA and KFSD. Unprecedented volatility has paralyzed investors. In fact, there are millions of investors just sitting on the sidelines watching as literally a parade of financial opportunities pass them by. For 27 years, I've been actively trading and advising both institutional and individual investors to my techno-fundamental approach. If you're having a tough time with the stock market and you need a new trading partner with some fresh ideas to help get you back on track, then call me at 888-668-9562 or log on at howtoinvestinanewamerica.com. The number again is 888-668-9562 or howtoinvestinanewamerica.com. Call me and let me help you get back on track. Newport Coast Securities, member FINRA, SIPC.
Financial News and Talk, AM 1450 KFSD Escondido, AM 1510 KSPA Ontario, Astor Broadcast Group stations.